Now, I completely forgot to talk about glue, which is essential. I glue purely because of my arthritis that I can't sew anymore. And it's easy. Yeah, I use Copydex fabric glue, which I decant into a little jar because it's easier to use this way instead of, because I have massive pots of the glue. So it's just easier to use from here. Before you make any cuts, what I do is I use Sharpie. Doesn't matter what colour it is because it's going to be inside. This one I did with an orange pen. You still see it a little bit. No one's going to see it. It's not, you know, they're not as pretty as they would be if you'd bought a topper. See what I mean by raggy? Look, this has come undone, the wefts. They're not going to be as pretty as if you buy a ready-made topper, obviously, because it's a DIY jobby. But it doesn't matter. It's only you that sees it. As long as it's secure and comfortable and fits you okay, that's all that matters. So what I do with my wig is to, obviously, when you know the size, I mark it onto the wig. Let's turn this in that way. I mark onto the wig and then freehand follow the line along, and then as that is the edge of the fringe section, usually on the hard cap especially, you draw a slanted area from there down to, let's do it to the bottom of the ear tab. Okay, and that is going to be, and the same the other side. It doesn't matter if it's not quite the same. Let's check. Okay. That's the back. From there, right, so that gives you a rough guide of the shape. There you go, you can just about see that around there. Now, when you're cutting, I do it slightly differently now to what I did when I very first started. Before you cut anything, what I do is I apply glue to the cap, because obviously when you're cutting, when you cut along there, where the wefts are stitched, that stitching will come undone, and it comes undone quite quickly. So if you cut it before you glue, it starts to unravel while you're moving it around, and then it's a more fiddly job to stick the ends of the wefts down. or stitch them if you're going to be stitching. It just makes it harder work. So I apply glue to the fabric. It soaks in to the stitching at the back and glues the stitching. And you can also glue the outer side. Let me show you on the finished one. You can see the glue there all the way around the edge. And the great thing with Copydex is obviously it's a fabric glue, but you can also glue metal and all sorts of things with it. It's amazing stuff. But the good thing with it, excuse me, is it dries pretty clear. It's flexible, very soft. It's not hard at all. It's got a very slight sort of silicone finish to it, so that helps with grip and everything. And it's washable. So it ticks every box for this. And it's great stuff. And I've not had any of them come undone. Nothing at all. You can see here, look, where the stitching has come undone on this one. That's where I've worn it so much. And they're quite cheaply made, aren't they? They're not really high quality wigs, so, you know, you've got to keep that in mind as well. So you just simply, I would dab a little bit of glue underneath there. You wait a few minutes for it to sort of become a little bit tacky. Then stick the two areas together. You have to put it on both sides when it's a porous fabric. And then clip it with your pincer, leave it overnight or at least a few hours, and then that'll be dry and it's great. So you've marked your outer edge. You apply your glue. I use a little, you can use anything really, a little lolly stick, a brush. I've got like, I think it's like a dental tool thing that I use, but it's quite long. And because it's angled, you can dab it on. It's quite easy to put onto the fabric. So let me give you a little demo. Of how this goes. And you do that all the way around the edge line once you're happy with the circumference that you've drawn. I think I called it diameter earlier on, but it's the circumference obviously of the wig. And you just do that. Make sure that you cover it fairly well, a fairly decent layer. But obviously the more you put on, and if you press too hard, it will push it through the fabric and could potentially go onto the hair underneath. So just be aware of that. Obviously, if you're leaving the ear tabs on, then, to be honest, you don't need to worry too much because it's fairly easy. All you'll be doing is, because when you cut, you always cut in between the wefts. Okay, you can see my finger through there. And obviously if it's an open weft, you can, or you're having to, I'll show that in a minute actually. So you cut between the two wefts of hair, and you would put the glue on there and follow that line. And I would actually go up to and cover the stitching of that very bottom weft, okay? And follow it all the way around to the other side. With this, I won't do it now because it will be tedious for you to watch, but you just follow your pen line all the way around and leave that to dry. I'll put that to one side. If you're doing an open wefted one, then when you're cutting, your chosen line, obviously you can't, well, I suppose you can draw a line with your marker pen, but there won't be so much surface area to actually draw on. So it's easier from a cutting point of view because you can see exactly where you're going. And you can see here that, get that off, you cut, again, you'll cut between the wefts. And make sure you don't get any hair caught, and you're just cutting the elastic. Where's my scissors? So if you were cutting, you gently slide your scissors underneath, cut between the middle and cut down there. And then you would follow that line all the way around, all the way around. And then obviously I've cut the ear tabs off of this one. But if you had your ear tabs in, they would be out here. And then that would be it. You wouldn't have to glue anything. I mean, you can put glue on here, but I don't bother. It's easy enough. If you're stitching, then obviously that's different. You would just roll your bias binding or elastic. Even you could use like soft elastic, but not pull it tight, otherwise you're going to get gathering on your topper. So then you would just stitch, follow the weft line and stitch on top of that. Or if it's wide bias binding, you could stitch either side and stitch the two wefts. Yeah, if you're going to cut ear tabs off, this one I did before I put the glue on first. And what you have to do is, obviously because these lines will come unravelled, so you have to do is get glue and stick in between the end of the weft and the fabric at the back, and then clip it until it's dry. And it's really fiddly, takes ages, killed my fingers, really made them ache. But if you put the glue on first, when I do it now, I cover the whole area so that it is well and truly covered and catches all of the stitching, that whole section there. I wanted a little more coverage at the back, so I gathered up a couple of wefts and stuck them on the end piece. But when you come to stitch combs on, it's more difficult, like I said, with the open weft